Love that. I really do. You mentioned mental strength coach, and I know a lot of players, myself included, Adam included, have gone through either a long-term injury or a situation where they weren't the first guy on the team sheet and they had to work their way through it. How important was mental strength to you in your career? Did you have a coach who like specialized in this, or, you know, just how important was mental strength to you to get from, you know, we talked about you coming from the bottom to here, but how important was that for you?
Those are the most important. So for as much as Quincy can go down a million scenarios and ways in which to think about and go about it, that was born from the need to develop a mentality that is okay with things not going your way, and adapting and coming up with a plan or a strategy that accounts for that. And that comes down to mentality, right? And that has been the centralized focus of my career, in the sense that I went, okay, to stick around for a long time, you need to be known for something, and you have to differentiate yourself from your competition. I'm an athletic guy, right? I'm athletic, right? Which is a strength. But when I'm first coming into the pro game as well too, I go like, okay, lots of guys are athletic, and I'm looking at the older guys who were athletic, and I go, okay, they're not playing past 29, 30, 31, 30, or they're really hurting and struggling. And I'm going like, all right, well, I've got to trade in and trade up, which means in the short term, I'm going to look bad because I'm trying to learn the tactical side of the game, the soccer IQ side of the game, the technical side of the game. And that's a part of my game that I wasn't focused on or developing from a young age. So I'm very far behind my competition. What I had to learn how to do was utilize my athleticism when necessary, and then utilize the space and time that I was creating for myself to try new things, to learn the technical aspect of the game, right? And that process took a long time because there's a lot to learn. And, you know, when you don't have the network and you don't have the people, when you make a mistake, it can be catastrophic. You're starting all the way back at zero. And you have to have a strong mentality to always be knocked back down to zero, and know that you have to go 100 steps just to get to 101. And you knew how hard it was to get to 100. And that makes it even more difficult because you're going like, I know what I have to do to even have a chance to be able to do something. So when you start thinking about it or looking at it that way, mental strength and mentality is the only thing that matters most in that process. And if you don't believe that, or you don't understand that, you might win athletically, you might win talent for a little while, but eventually you'll be caught and passed. And that was the risk that I took in the way that I thought about it early on, because mentality was not something that people thought about. It's not something that people were focusing on. That's something that I felt, I was like, you know what? No one's doing this. No one looks at it that way. That's what I'm going to be known for. That's what I'm creating. That's what I'm developing. And I want to develop it in a manner that is open source, so everybody learns how to do it, so everybody has access. So it's not I'm someone who has an accent and came to this country 20 years ago and created a soccer club. Didn't really understand soccer at all, but because I had an accent, Americans are paying me hella money to build the club. Now I'm 20 years into it. I've got hundreds, thousands of kids within my organization and club, and it's not open source. Why would it be? I don't want competition. I don't want people to learn my model. I don't want that. So I think that's the reason why our U.S. national team is starting to really struggle horribly, because people are too focused on money, and have been for too long, that I'm going, okay, open source this knowledge and information. If all these kids who don't have access to these academies, don't have access to these coaches, don't have access to these facilities, can on their own work in their house and get to a level where they can show up to a tryout maybe one day and whoop the kid's butt who's been working with the coaches and the academies for the last several years. We're going to continue to ignore that. You're going to continue to deny talent and an opportunity to do well. And I think with how things have been working and going on for so long, I think people are saying I don't think people are down for that anymore. I think to me, people have woken up, especially with this quarantine. They've had enough time to kind of self-reflect and go like, why were we doing that? And what are better ways to be more efficient? So, yep, I'll cut myself off because if you guys don't, you know what I mean? If you guys don't cut me off, man, I can keep going, man.
Yeah, so I couldn't cut you off. I don't know if you were seeing my video here, but everything you said regarding mental strength, I'm just nodding along to, because I'm sitting back. Like I mentioned, I went through an injury where I got shoulder dislocated, surgery, 14 months of rehab. The very first session, my other shoulder dislocates. So I'm going through the whole thing you're talking about working your way up, taking 100 steps to get to 101, and then having to go back and do it again. And it just, I couldn't cut you off because I'm sitting here. I'm remembering everything you just said was exactly what I was trying to tell myself, and exactly what I tried to tell the guys that I played with my last year. Was the same exact thing. Was, you're not getting anything handed to you. You got to work from the ground up. You got to do all this stuff. And it was good to hear it from another person instead of just my own mind.
I got you. No, I hear you. And I think that was the thing that it took me a while to understand and realize, like before, especially, but most people go like, Quincy, we don't want to hear it. We don't hear you anymore. I'd be like, all right, well, I'm just talking to myself. That's what I'm really doing.
You could go all day about that stuff, and I will never stop you, because it's so true. It is it's the biggest part about anything you do, not just in soccer, but in life, right? You need to be able to get through the difficult times. You need to be able to get through the stuff that is uncomfortable and work hard to get to where you want to go. And, like I said, everything about it was spot on, perfect.
I love that. If you buy the mental strength training, I'm selling it, man. Let's go.
It's all there.
But it's to your point. Yes. Like, I think a lot of us watch movies where everything always ends on like and then we ride off into the sunset and everything's great, and I worked really hard and then I got the opportunity and they gave me the promotion. Like, that's what we see in the movies and on TV, but in real life, it's usually not how it goes. Right? So I think the more honest we can be about the process, the more likely we are to like create an outcome that we're really happy with, or more importantly, we can accept or parlay or use that experience to progress everything forward. So no, I love hearing that as well too, man, because I think everyone has their own difficulties that they're going through, and just like soccer, it's all subjective, and it's relative. And if we go down the track of like, I suffered more than you because my injury was this and yours was that, and you had money and I did, then I'm going like, again, subjective. Let's just know, you suffer, I suffer. That's common. That's what we have in common. Okay, can we help each other suffer less? Then I think that's the best place to start.
Right.